Hello, welcome to this session. In this session, we will discuss about the traditional systems and how they are storing the data and process the data, and what are the difficulties by using the traditional systems nowadays for processing the huge amount of data. So if I put the huge amount of data nowadays, it is generating from the different data sources in a graphical way. This is my volume of the data, which is very massive and increases day by day. So this way it is increasing the data volume of the data. At the same time, if I'll process the data, same amount of the data, the huge amount of the data in by using our traditional system, the capability of processing is going to be very low. The capability decreases when the volume of the data increases. So if I'll take the example of any office, like we have the data sources, we can say, like we can have some solution systems like CRM systems, CRM and ERP. CRM, customer relationship management system, which allows the business to manage the relationship and the data and the information from the customer perspective. And enterprise resource planning system, ERP system, it is also business management software that allows the organization to use the system of integrated applications to manage the business. So these systems are producing huge amount of the data as well. So they are producing huge amount of the data, and that can be, lot of data is there, but I want to extract some meaningful information out of this data. So what I'll do is I can utilize the ETL tools like extract, transform and load. Extract, transform and load. So what this ETL tool will do is, like, it will extract the very meaningful information or data from the different databases or different data systems like CRM, ERP systems data, and it can normalize the data. I mean, the appropriate data can be extracted from this system, and it will given it will given to the databases where we can store the data for further analysis. To analyze the data, I have to this extracted data or information we can store in a database system. So again, the very meaningful information can be stored in a database system, DB. Okay. So I have, like, very filtered data, like some extracted data, transformed data, normalized data can be stored in the DBA with a very structured way, the structure format. And this DBA I have to process as per my business logic. So up to some extent, like if the data size is like 500 GB or less than that, it will give a good performance, or it can process very easily and we can get the information as per our business logic. I can get my business output or meaningful information through which I can enhance my business. And here in this database I can integrate my BI tool. So BI tool I can integrate here, like in the graphical form I can see and I can analyze the data. The analysis or the processing is happening in the DBA, the database server, and that can be represented in a graphical way in the BI tools. But only the few amount of the data or very less amount of data can be processed very easily. But if the data size is more than 1 TB, these systems cannot support. It will give the issues, it will give the performance issue as well as the storage wise issue. If I have like 5 TB of data, huge amount of data, this DBA cannot store that much of data in this system because there is some capacity limitations, as well as processing also very difficult to process in a single system. Even though if I can process the data, it will take very long time. It will take couple of days, couple of weeks as well. My business cannot wait to such a long time to get the output. So what they can do is it can be mitigated. The issues can be mitigated by introducing to the Hadoop technology. So here the issues raises. What are the issues? Storage, processing, and I mean the type of data. So it can only process only the structured data. So unstructured data cannot be processed. This system is not efficient to process the unstructured or semi-structured data. So that is also one difficulties. So that we can say variety of the data is also a problem. Variety of data processing also a problem, and it is very costly. This is all are very costly systems. It is an enterprise hardware system, so very frequently it cannot be rebooted or it cannot give a lot of issues because it is enterprise hardware, very costly systems. So this can be mitigated by using our Hadoop technology. So to some extent, if I want to fix the storage as well as the processing issue in our traditional system like DBA, what I'll do is I can do a scaling that is called vertical scaling. So some extent I can upgrade my hardware of the DBA system or any systems which is used for the business. So I can upgrade some extent, not beyond that. So this type of scaling, I can scale my RAM size, disk size, the capacity wise, and the processor. I can do the scaling. So this type of scaling, we can say it is a vertical scaling. But vertical scaling is not a scaling solution for storing as well as the processing of the data. It will give a strain definitely if the data size increases, and the processing wise also it will gives a lot of time consuming. It will take a long time to process the data. So this vertical scaling is not a solution here. So I have 1 TB of data, like 1 TB of data, or we can say I have 5 TB of data. That is very difficult from the storage wise as well. So what I'll do is I can go ahead with the horizontal scalability. I can go ahead with horizontal scalability. I can have multiple machines. I can have multiple machines, and I will distribute the data, my 5 TB of data, into multiple machines. I can have the data of 5 TB, and in place of a single system I'll distribute the data among all the systems. System 1, system 2, system 3, and system 4, like that. So storage issue is solved by distributing the data across the different systems. But while purchasing the any system in any organization, suppose you are working for a organization, so you might have know the procurement process, or the while purchasing the any system, it will take long time, because we can have to have lot of approvals from the management side as well as the manager, and after getting lot of approvals we can purchase one single system. So after maybe it will take 15 to 20 days. So nowadays my business or my client cannot wait such a long time. So how to solve this issue? This issue can be solved if you use the cloud. Like, we have a lot of vendors of the cloud: Amazon, Azure, Microsoft Azure, IBM Bluemix, and lot of vendors are there. So that can mitigate the issue. So within 5 to 10 minutes I can make my system ready. I can spin up my new machines in the cloud, so that it can mitigate the issue of storage as well as the processing. So if you have account in the Amazon, you can use that one, and you can do, you know, you can spin up your systems within 5 to 10 minutes. You can make your system ready for the business. Cloud, Amazon Cloud, I have to type or something. Yeah, aws.amazon.com. If you have account, that's fine. Otherwise you have to register for this account and you have to sign into the AWS, so that we can have, they're providing a lot of services. They're providing a lot of services. So one of the services is called EC2, so through which we can launch our instances, we can launch our virtual machines within 5 to 10 minutes. So once you can go to the service and we can select the EC2. Otherwise directly you can search the EC2. So I can launch the instances, and you have to select this operating system, which operating system you want to select, and which operating system you want. Just you have to select. Here I am selecting just Amazon free tier. And this is the hardware specification, the general purpose hardware, and how many CPUs we can have, memory, and the instances, the storage type, and the network performance. All those parameters are here. So what type of system you want? Like here, the general purpose M4 large, it has 2 vCPUs, memory. This is the CPU, like 16, just here M5 4x large system. If I choose this system, I can have like 16 processors, 64 GB of RAM, and we can attach the EBS volume. In the sense, like storage, we can attach one storage. How much storage you want, you can attach in this system. And this is the network speed, would be like 10 gig, up to 10 gig we can have. So what is your requirement, hardware specifications, we can choose from here. For processing, we can have lot of RAM. Here we can have 1952 GB of RAM, very huge computing capacity, RAM capacity. So we can choose some specifications and we can configure our details. And how many instances, how many machines you want to launch for your business, for your project. You can choose 100 machines, 200 machines, or 10 machines, or 5 machines. Just you can put here and give some the parameters which subnet you want to do. So if you go through the completely Amazon cloud services, you come to know how to do that. So here I can choose the default VPC, means my virtual private network, so no one can intervene to my network. Add the storage, you can add how much you want, and you can launch the instances. So I'm going ahead with the default for time being. And you can give the name. If you want to give the tag anything like name, and the VM names, you can give VM 1, 2, 3, whatever it may be, or naming convention would be anything, and you can launch the instances. This is the security group. So create the new security group here and select for the launch. See the protocol, which ports we want to enable to access the servers. Just as per your requirement, you can add. Many ports are there. Just you can add what is your requirement. You can select here and we can give, and you can customize it or give anywhere, or my IP, from your IP it can be accessible, or anywhere you can access if you choose this one. View and launch. So I have not given anything. Source will be shared air, blocks will be group ID. Okay, just anything. So if you launch, so at a time it will launch how many instances you have chosen. So this is the power of cloud. So storage wise, I can store the data in the multiple systems, as well as the processing. If I choose very high configured hardware, it can be the processing wise also it can be solved. But for that we need the software called Hadoop, big data Hadoop software, which is a very like distributed file system through feeds, and with the use of MapReduce program we can process our data. So the question is like where to store the data, where to store the data, where to store, and how to store, and how to solve the problem, or what type of processing will do, what processing you will do. So where to store is given by the technology called cloud. Storage wise, how many systems you want to add very quickly, you can approach to any of the cloud vendor and you can do that. So cloud can solve the storage issue. And how to store and where to store, like where to store in the sense like which data node or which client machine I want to store. How to store will give the given by Hadoop. Or you can say HDFS file system, through which we can store the data. How? Means by using the distributed fashion or parallel processing, we can store the data with a different machines. The same 1 TB of data, 5 TB of data, for example, 5 TB of data, so that can be stored with a different machines by using the Hadoop technology. In the processing, what type of processing I want to do upon the data, like machine learning, deep learning, and data science. All these are the algorithms, like the logic. So data scientists are creating the logic and they'll apply upon the data and to produce the meaningful information. They'll do some analysis upon the data, upon the big data. So what type of processing can be done by using different technologies like machine learning, deep learning? And for example, if you say take the example of the Twitter data, Twitter is producing huge amount of data. So I cannot go ahead and collect the information and I'll read the information and I'll take the decision. I have to do some analysis on that. You can say like sentimental analysis, or for any retailer product vendors for purchasing of the product, how people are purchasing the products and how it is popular. All those things can be analyzed by using the analytics. By using the technologies, we can do some sentimental analysis. Data analytics will do upon the huge amount of data which is producing by the different data sources, and will extract the very business meaningful information, and we can do the business very effectively, and we can capture the market. So this is the thing. This way we can solve the problems arised by the traditional systems like storage, processing, variety of data processing. So in the legacy hardware, we cannot process, the structure, semi-structure. Structure we can process, but semi-structure and unstructured data cannot be processed by the traditional systems. But by using the big data technology like Hadoop technology, with the help of some ecosystems, we can do analysis on the structure, unstructured and semi-structured data. It can fit for any type of data. The Hadoop system will fit for any kind of the data. It can be accepting every type of data, and we can utilize many ecosystem components, and different ecosystems will have different functionality to study, to do analytics upon the big data, and will give a very meaningful information to the business. So thank you for the session.